Today, we are recapping a 2022 movie titled The Gray Man. The film opens in a Florida state prison, where Fitzroy arrives to free a prisoner named Six, who had been arrested for murder. However, in return Six would be recruited by the CIA and get trained to work on covert missions. 18 years later, Six and Agent Miranda are dispatched to Bangkok to neutralize a potential threat. After Six has set up his gun, Danny Carmichael, his CIA Operations Center chief, briefed him on the task and the target named Dining Car. According to Carmichael, the target's goal was to sell sensitive information that could jeopardize national security. As Six was preparing to execute the target, he came to a stop when he noticed the child nearby. Although Carmichael told him to complete the task and that collateral damage would not be an excuse, Six refused, claiming that the rifle had jammed. He then activated the emergency alarm because everyone was in a rush. He took out Dining Car's securities. After a long and difficult battle, he catches up with Dining Car. Dining Car tells him that he was once an operator like him, and his agency name is Sierra 4. Six then stabs him in his dying state. Dining Car informs him that Fitzroy recruited him in the same way as they recruited Six. He goes on to inform Six that Carmichael is a nasty guy. He then presents Six with a necklace and a hard drive. He tells Six to use the hard drive to bring down Carmichael before finally breathing. Agent Miranda and Six meet. He informs her that Dining Car was aware of his identity, but there was no information on him. Upon conducting a thorough examination on the body, Carmichael learns that there is no drive on him. Carmichael is frustrated and calls Six. He instructs Six to provide him with a status report. He then asks Six if he removed anything from Dining's body, to which Six replies negatively. Six attempts to unlock the drive, but realizes it is encrypted, so he gives a stranger box to transport it somewhere it could be decoded. The next scene unfolds in Baku. Fitzroy, already retired, receives a call from Six. He informs Fitzroy that Carmichael may not be straight because he was asked to execute a Sierra member. Fitzroy then inquired about his location. He informs Six that he will deploy a local extraction team to keep him safe. Six informs Fitzroy that before Sierra 4 died, he handed him a thumb drive that would reveal Carmichael's darkest side. Fitzroy then instructs him to head to an airfield near Chiang Mai, where his local extraction team will be waiting. Carmichael informs Suzanne, a CIA operative, that Six knows where the drive is but refused to tell him. He informs Suzanne that it is time for him to call up someone who can handle Six perfectly. The scene shifts to reveal Lloyd Hansen, a psychopath who relishes torturing his prisoners. He received a call from Carmichael informing him that he needed to identify and destroy a target named Sierra 6. He went on to tell Lloyd that Six possessed important knowledge that could lead them all down a wrong path. He informs Lloyd that, by any means necessary, he must eliminate Six and reclaim the drive. Lloyd then instructs Carmichael to provide Fitzroy's files so he can trap someone close to him, ensuring the elderly man will reveal some information about Six. Carmichael then informs Lloyd that Suzanne will also cooperate with the task, but Suzanne is hesitant since she believes Carmichael is not doing things correctly. The scene shifts to Chiang Mai, the extraction site. Six arrives at the scene as he prepares to depart Bangkok with the local crew Fitzroy had sent. While Agent Miranda was on her way to a mission in Singapore, Carmichael called and told her to meet him in Berlin. Meanwhile, Lloyd pays Fitzroy a visit as he is attending a funeral. He informs Fitzroy that he must give up Six's location or his niece would be killed. He tells Fitzroy that he has already gone through his file and kidnapped his niece. He informs him that the only way out of this situation is to give over Six's location. Fitzroy called the local crew while they were carrying Six, instructing them to secretly kill him. The commander of the local extraction gang then alerts his man. But when they approach where Six was napping, he sees them and battles them fiercely. The struggle caused a lot of damage to the plane. During the fight, the plane was already in shambles, with its components torn apart. One of the local team's security personnel managed to seize a parachute from Six. Six jumps with him and lands on his parachute, strangling the local team's soldier in the air. After Six had arrived in Turkey, He called Fitzroy. He tells Fitzroy about the plane fight and how his men attempted to kill him. Fitzroy then informs Six that they had used him to gain access to his niece Claire. Lloyd snatches the phone as he prepares to end his chat. Lloyd urges him to return the asset and he would let Fitzroy go, but Six refuses. Fitzroy teases him, calling him a child. Lloyd then informs Fitzroy that the entire Great Assassins were hunting Sierra 6, and there was nowhere Six could flee without being apprehended. The scene shifts 2 years earlier in London. Fitzroy had called Six. He told Six that he had a niece who had been trained with Margaret's assistance. He goes on to say that he has many adversaries, particularly in his field of employment. Margaret then informs Six that someone in DC had unintentionally revealed Fitzroy's address in Hong Kong, where his niece lived. She went on to explain that Fitzroy was leaving for a mission in Brazil, and Six had to watch Claire because Carmichael would not provide security for them. Fitzroy then told Six that Claire was born with a cardiac problem and had a pacemaker implanted. The next scene introduces Six to Claire. They began to bond as she shot a photograph of him. Later that night, when Six checked to make sure everything was okay, Claire screamed in anguish and cried out his name. He rushed her to a hospital. The hospital informed him of a programming error. They were able to repair it, and then they could monitor her pacemaker remotely. Later that night, after Claire's discharge from the hospital, Six noticed someone in her flat. He caught up to him and beat him up. Claire heard the disturbance and went outside to check what was happening. He told her to go back to bed, stating that everything was under control. Six has gone to meet with a man who will process his new passport and change his identity. The man urges him to clean up so he could photograph him. While cleaning up, Six remembers how his father used to treat him like a maniac. Once he finished cleaning up, he received an Ecuadorian passport. The man then instructs Six to move over to the platform for more shots. While photographing Six, he kicks a button that opens the platform, causing Six to tumble into a dry well. The man then informs Six that he has a large bounty on his head. Six attempts to force his gun through the bulletproof glass. Meanwhile, in Berlin, at the CIA station, Agent Miranda approaches Carmichael for questioning. He warns her that if she knew anything about Six whereabouts or where he stored the drive, she would suffer irreparable harm. He goes on to tell her that they hadn't recorded anything on Six into decades, and that he is the last Sierra to survive. He receives a message on his cell phone with the address that they had located. 6. Agent Miranda reads through his spectacles while the message reflects on them. They informed Lloyd that they had apprehended Six. Meanwhile, Six is already devising his escape strategy. He opens all the pipes, allowing water to rush in. Lloyd and his men arrive at the location where Six has found himself trapped. Lloyd shoots dead the man who had caught Six attempting to claim his prize. Lloyd then instructs his soldiers to scour the area for Six. As they near the trapped well, Six utilizes the water's force to shatter the glass. He engages in a heated brawl with Lloyd's guys, but Lloyd eventually manages to catch up with him. While Lloyd is asking for the drive, he discovers that Six has thrown a grenade and flees the house for safety. Lloyd catches up with Six as he attempts to flee, but Agent Miranda intervenes by shooting him with a tranquilizer. She then tells Six to get into her car's trunk. When he refuses, she shoots him in the leg with a tranquilizer. The scene then shifts to a palace in Croatia, where Lloyd has taken both Fitzroy and his niece. Upon their arrival, Suzanne expresses her dissatisfaction to Lloyd, telling him that he had no intention of kidnapping Fitzroy and his niece. She warns him he's not doing it correctly, and her job is in jeopardy. Lloyd becomes enraged, telling her that he is the only hope she has of regaining her driving privileges, and that he has an advantage because he is not going to follow their rules and do things the correct way. In the subsequent scene, we witness Agent Miranda interacting with Six. She informs him that they removed her from field duty, and he promises to clean her name. She then asks him what he had stolen from the agency. He reveals that before his death, Sierra Ivy gave him an encrypted drive, which he then transferred to Margaret Cahill, the UK agency chief living in Prague, for assistance. Meanwhile, Lloyd learns that Six had delivered the drive to a contact in Prague during the Bangkok operations night. Lloyd then approaches Fitzroy and tortures him in order to extract information from him. After removing his nails, Fitzroy eventually breaks down. Agent Miranda and Six then visit Margaret in Prague. She informs them that the drive contained Carmichael's dirty laundry, including all of his tortures and assassinations, which is why Six is on the ledge. She then instructs them to copy the file and leak it to the press. She even offered to give him her armored vehicle. While they were talking, Lloyd's men arrived at her house and opened fire, which Lloyd witnessed from his villa in Croatia. Margaret shows Six a cellar where he can hide while they all run for cover, but then she locks herself out. Six implored her to open the door, but she declined. She sacrificed herself by lighting up the entire apartment, killing Lloyd's men. Shortly, the police arrived on the scene. As they attempted to apprehend Six, he fought them and ran. They got into a hot pursuit. After he was involved in an accident, the cops caught up with him and they shackled him to a bench. When Lloyd's Alpha Squad arrived at the city plaza, Six ordered the cops to evacuate all of the people, but they shut him down. He seizes their firearm and unleashes a barrage of gunfire, causing the people to scatter in search of safety. The Alpha Squad then engaged in a violent gunfight with the police, killing several of their soldiers. His team managed to destroy the majority of the police vehicles, leaving Six in hiding. The SWAT unit then arrived and opened fire with a machine gun on Lloyd's men. Lloyd then instructs the Bravo team to take out the officers. The SWAT unit then opened fire on the Bravo team with heavy weapons. They informed Lloyd that too many officers prevented them from reaching Six. Six manages to pick up a gun and fire at the crew. After many exchanges of gunfire, he breaks free from his handcuffs and enters a speeding train. Lloyd's soldiers pursued him and fired heavily at the train. When Miranda arrives in Margaret's car to rescue Six, city police pursue her. They engaged in a high-speed chase, resulting in significant damage. The train collides with Miranda's car and Six leaps in. Then they escaped. When Lloyd discovered that his entire crew had vanished, he directed another agent named Devi Kike-san to locate and collect the data drive. Meanwhile, Six and Miranda go to Claire's hospital to locate and rescue her. They obtained the hospital's key card and searched for her location. Vic approached them while they were engaged in conversation. When they refused his request for the drive, Vic easily defeated both of them and grabbed the opportunity. Miranda and Six then made their way to the medical facility for Six treatment, as his injuries were severe. Miranda inquired as he treated his wounds as to why he had gone to prison. He tells her that his father considered himself a true macho man and encouraged him and his brother to follow in his footsteps. He began mistreating them, and it became clear that he had murdered his father. Fitzroy found him imprisoned. In the following scene, Vic approaches Lloyd. He imparts the motivation to him. Miranda and Six then arrive at the site where they had held Fitzroy and Claire captive. After ambushing some security personnel, they obtained heavy weaponry. Miranda uses her RPG to destroy the place, while Six goes over to save Fitzroy and Claire. Miranda, on the other hand, demolishes the control center of Vic, then picks up the drive, which has dropped off. Lloyd and his soldiers proceeded to pursue Six and Fitzroy. Fitzroy then orders Six to continue the voyage without him due to his severe injuries. He instructs him to take care of his niece. When the situation became critical, Six grabbed Claire and jumped into the river. Fitzroy, on the other hand, uses a grenade to blow up Lloyd and his men, sacrificing himself in the process. Fortunately, Lloyd avoids the blast. Vic, on the other hand, engaged in a battle with Miranda. As he was about to finish her off, he unexpectedly offered her the drive. He informs her that Lloyd and his colleagues are not respectable people and did not deserve the drive. He leaves the drive and departs. After a gunfight with Six, Lloyd kidnaps Claire and keeps her at gunpoint. Six then throws his gun away as they fight. When Lloyd realized he was losing the struggle, he pulled out his knife, stabbing Six several times. Six then holds on to him and pins him down. Susan then approaches and shoots Lloyd. After killing Lloyd, she informs Six that Lloyd was going to take full responsibility for everything and all she needed was a witness to confirm her narrative. She informs him that if he wants to see Claire alive, he must do what she has asked him. She then takes Six to the emergency room after noticing he was bleeding. In the ensuing scene, the CIA's higher authority cleared Carmichael, Susan, and Miranda. Carmichael destroyed the drive, thereby absolving them of any criminal charges. Carmichael then inquired about Six's location. She tells him that they had confined him to the most secure floor. When Susan and Carmichael arrived at the site where Six was confined, they learned that he had escaped. Six then rushes to save Claire from Susan's men who were guarding her home, leading to a joyful reunion.
Kindly like, comment, subscribe and turn on the notification button.